Today, let's talk about workflow. All right, so it's funny how things work. This evening, I was checking my email and I got an email asking about an update, that I make an update or address some concerns that existed with the video that I did from last year about my workflow for automating your content creation, or curation rather. And in that video, it was actually a set of 3 videos that I discussed going from integrating using Feedly and IFTTT to integrate into Buffer, which would then spread your automated social media posts and content that you'd curated from the web to your, Instagram or your Facebook or LinkedIn and Twitter pages, right? Nick Wired, who I want to thank, sent me an email that I had been thinking about doing this video for a while, but he really pushed it and really encouraged me to get this out like right now. So I'm actually not in my studio, but it was so important that I wanted to get this out to you guys. And there is a better way to do things. So Nick asks, once I have my content queued in Buffer, as triggered by IFTTT, how does Buffer distribute the content when there are multiple social media accounts? In his case, it's LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And so what he says is, to clarify further, he's like, how do you determine what goes to LinkedIn and which to Facebook, etc.? Since some content is better suited to go to certain locations than other places. And it's a great question. Previously, my workflow began with Feedly, and it used IFTTT to send it to Buffer, which then would distribute it. But then you would have to do a rigmarole with IFTTT, selecting things to go to, only Twitter or only Facebook, or feeding it out from there. And it was a lot more work than necessary. So I've had some time to look this over. This is a strategy that I was using for some time, and I ran into some of the same frustrations that Nick is explaining in this email. And what I found is there's actually 2 ways. It's actually the same method, but it's a variation of the same method. And in this way, it allows you more control and more finesse as to deciding where you want your content to go to particular destinations. So let's take a look at it. So previously, you would have to go here and automate Buffer, and let's delete IFTTT from the workflow for now. So we go to Feedly, you find an article. Let's say this is the new workflow, by the way. Let's say you say, all right, let's go ahead and use telemedicine, filling the gap. Let's do that. I'm always interested in cutting edge methodologies that will reduce the cost of healthcare. So let's say this interests me. Now, what I could do, and this works on the cell phone as well, what I could do is click on the article itself. And then I just go to share to Buffer. Boom. And once I share to Buffer, now this is the answer to Nick's question. He was like, well, how do I send it here, there, everywhere? And before, when you use the previous method that I was talking about in my previous video from last year, it would only show one account. You see here, I have my Twitter, my LinkedIn, and my Instagram up on here. And let's say, well, you know what? This is not for the Twitter crowd. For the Instagram crowd. Let's get rid of Instagram. Now, this is the control that he's speaking about. It takes IFTTT completely out of the equation, and you can go ahead and customize whatever you need to say. You can add your hashtags, change your photos. They give you some recommendations. Let's say for Twitter, I want that picture there, and you can integrate. There's all sorts of strategies for streamlining and speeding up your hashtag workflow. I typically use a clipboard, but there are actually apps that consolidate and search hashtags that are best for you. And we'll get into that into another video about hashtag management and hashtag curation. But let's just add a hashtag DPC. And I only want it for my LinkedIn crowd or my Twitter crowd right here. And then I go, you know what? For the LinkedIn crowd, I actually want that to be my photograph. I'm going to leave the photograph untouched, and I'm going to move on to hashtag DPC Rising. And you add up all your hashtags, right? All right, so yeah, so this is a lot more granular control. And when I add it to the queue, all right, before I add it to the queue, let's see, what do I have buffered? I currently have, before sending this from buffer, I already have 4 going to Twitter and 1 going to LinkedIn. So let's go back to Feedly and say, yeah, you know what, I'm ready to, I approve that message. You know, I've made my adjustments, added my photos, go back to buffer, let's see. It adds it exactly where you want to. So that's basically it. That's the solution. It's a lot simpler. It requires a little bit more work up front, but it's automated on the back end. It saves you that headache because you can go ahead and work on what message you want to send to which crowd. You know, you may want to focus your efforts on one of these platforms and just use the other to feed another avenue. For instance, I just use my YouTube. I use my Twitter to feed into my YouTube. So yeah, man, Nick, that was an amazing question. And basically that's it. And again, you can also do this the other way around. Let's do this again. So we've done that article. Let's say, you know what? The other option was, let's like this article on navigating age-friendly healthcare, right? So you could go ahead and click on the article. And again, this works in the app as well. So yeah, you can also, you know, go directly to the accounts up here on the screen, but let's go to buffer again. Let's keep everything centralized. Keep a record of everything we send out. All right. So now we go to buffer and we say, you know what? I don't want it to go to Instagram right now, but let's say I add it now. And then at buffer, I can make my adjustments. I can go to here and then make my adjustments to, let's see, what was that, aging healthcare? Now I can edit here. And it looks like the same controls. You add your photos and whatever you need to there, but you know, you can make your adjustments after it's there. So that's the answer. That's the answer. This is a little easier of a workflow. And again, the idea behind this is to save you time, to try and have one avenue for as little cost as possible. This is using, I think I only use, actually I do know for sure, I only use the free version of Buffer. I pay for Feedly because I don't have time to scour the internet. There are ways you can even get away with setting up Google so that it just brings you articles in your news feed and what have you. But I prefer Feedly. It's a little bit quicker workflow. But there are other ways to buffer things straight from your Google news feed and these things. But anyway, this is it. So again, I hope that helps. This is supposed to be a quick video. I ran a little bit long, but that's no problem. Hopefully that answers your question, Nick, and anyone else that's having this problem. And I did have that problem going through a rigmarole on the back end, trying to figure out, well, this goes here and that, and it was a little overcomplicated. So it's a cleaner workflow, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and consider subscribing. And I'm going to speed up my video workflow so that there's more videos coming out more regularly. I probably say that all the time. It's okay. Life happens, you know, things speed up, things slow down, and I just want to provide interesting and useful content for you. So I'm glad you guys are watching, and I hope this helps. All the best.